The airplane cabin hummed with the low drone of engines. But for Jamie Carter, the sound was a heartbeat. At 30,000 feet, he was king of this narrow kingdom, a flight attendant with a smile that could disarm even the grumpiest passenger. Tonight, though, a storm was brewing, and it wore a $5,000 suit. Jamie adjusted his navy vest, catching his reflection in a passenger's phone screen. His chestnut hair was neatly styled, his hazel eyes sharp with purpose. He'd been a flight attendant for 5 years, navigating turbulent skies and even stormier personalities. But nothing prepared him for Victor Langston, the billionaire tech mogul, notorious for his ruthless boardroom tactics. Sat in first class, his cold blue eyes scanning Jamie like he was a glitch in a program. "Sir, may I offer you a drink before takeoff?" Jamie asked, his voice warm but professional. Victor smirked, leaning back in his leather seat. "Only if you can make it quick, sweetheart," he said, the word dripping with mockery. A few nearby passengers chuckled, but Jamie's smile didn't falter. He'd heard worse. This was United Flight 214, New York to San Francisco, a red-eye packed with elite travelers. Jamie loved the energy of these flights, the quiet power plays, the whispered deals, the lives intersecting in a metal tube hurtling through the sky. But tonight, Victor's presence felt like a dark cloud. As Jamie poured a scotch, Victor's voice cut through the cabin again. "You know, I bet you're real popular with the boys in this uniform." The words were loud, deliberate, meant to humiliate. Jamie's heart thudded, but he kept his composure, handing over the drink. "Enjoy, sir," he said, turning away. Behind Victor, a small red light blinked on a passenger's phone, unnoticed by the billionaire. Someone was recording. By the time the plane reached cruising altitude, the video was already spreading. A passenger, a quiet college student named Mia, had captured the exchange and uploaded it to X with a simple caption, "Billionaire bullies flight attendant." This isn't okay. The clip went viral before the plane even landed, racking up millions of views. Jamie, oblivious, continued his rounds, offering blankets and snacks, his smile a shield against the world. In the galley, Jamie's co-worker, Sarah, nudged him. "You okay? That guy's a jerk." Jamie shrugged, brushing off the sting. "Just another day?" But it wasn't. Victor's words had cut deeper than he let on. Growing up in a small Ohio town, Jamie had faced taunts for being openly gay, for being too much or not enough. He'd built a life in New York, found love with his boyfriend, Alex, and carved out a space where he could be himself. But moments like this reminded him the world still had sharp edges. Victor, meanwhile, was basking in his own arrogance. He typed out a post on X from his phone, "Flight attendants these days. More drama than a soap opera. First-class problems." He hit send, unaware that the internet was already turning against him. Mia's video had sparked outrage, with comments flooding in, "Disgusting behavior. Who does he think he is? That flight attendant deserves better." Back in the cabin, Jamie noticed passengers whispering, their eyes darting between him and Victor. A woman in 3B slipped him a note, "You're amazing. Don't let him get to you." Jamie's throat tightened. He tucked the note into his pocket, a small lifeline in a sea of judgment. As the flight continued, Victor's demeanor grew bolder. He called Jamie over repeatedly, each request laced with condescension. Fix my seat. It's not reclining right. This wine tastes cheap. Jamie complied, his professionalism a quiet rebellion. But inside, he was unraveling. He thought of Alex, waiting at home with their dog, Luna, and the life they were building together. Why did people like Victor still have the power to make him feel small? In the back of the plane, Mia watched the drama unfold. She was 19, a film student with a knack for capturing raw moments. Her video wasn't just a post, it was a spark. She refreshed X, stunned to see her clip trending. News outlets were picking it up, with headlines like Tech Titan's cruel rant caught on camera. Mia hesitated, then sent Jamie a message through the airline's internal system. Check X. You're not alone. Jamie didn't see the message until the plane landed at SFO. As passengers disembarked, Victor brushed past him, muttering, "Better luck next time, kid." Jamie stood tall, but his hands trembled. He pulled out his phone, opened X, and froze. The video was everywhere. His face, Victor's sneer, the whole ugly moment laid bare for the world to see. Comments poured in, a tidal wave of support. "You're a hero, Jamie. Stay strong." But there were others, too, crueler ones, echoing Victor's disdain. Jamie's chest tightened. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready to be a symbol, a victim, or a cause. All he'd ever wanted was to do his job and live his truth. As he stepped off the plane, his phone buzzed with a text from Alex. "I saw the video. I'm so proud of you. Come home." Jamie's eyes stung. He didn't know what the morning would bring: fame, backlash, or something else entirely. But for now, he had a choice: let Victor's words define him or rise above them. In San Francisco, Victor stepped into a waiting car, oblivious to the storm he'd ignited. His phone buzzed with notifications, but he ignored them, assuming they were praise for his latest deal. He'd mocked a flight attendant. So what? It was just another Tuesday. But the camera had seen everything, and the world was watching. By morning, the internet was a battlefield. Jamie woke to a flood of notifications, his phone vibrating so fiercely it nearly fell off the nightstand. Alex, still bleary-eyed, handed him a coffee and said, "Babe, you're trending." Jamie's heart sank as he scrolled through X. The video had exploded, with over 10 million views and counting. Clips were on every major news site: CNN, BBC, even tabloids. Billionaire Victor Langston mocks flight attendant in viral video. Hashtags like "Justice for Jamie" and "Boycott Langston" trended worldwide. Jamie's name, pulled from his airline badge in the video, was now a rallying cry. He wasn't ready for this. Curled up on their San Francisco apartment's couch, Luna's head in his lap, Jamie felt exposed. "I didn't ask to be a hero," he told Alex, his voice cracking. Alex, a graphic designer with a steady calm, squeezed his hand. "You don't have to be. Just be you." But being himself felt impossible now. Strangers were dissecting his life. Some called him brave. Others slung slurs, accusing him of playing the victim. A local news station had already tracked down his workplace, and his inbox overflowed with interview requests. Jamie muted his phone, but the noise in his head was louder. Across town, Victor Langston was waking to a very different morning. His penthouse suite at the Four Seasons overlooked the bay. But the view did nothing to soothe his rage. His assistant, Priya, stood nervously by his desk, her tablet glowing with bad news. "Sir, the video's gone viral. Your board's panicking. Stocks are down 3%. Victor scoffed, tossing his phone onto the table. "It's one stupid clip. People will forget by lunch." But Priya's face was grim. "It's not just the video. People are digging into your past old lawsuits. Employee complaints. There's a petition to remove you as CEO." Victor's smirk faded. He'd built Langston Tech from a garage startup to a $50 billion empire, crushing anyone in his way. A single flight attendant wasn't supposed to matter. But the internet had other plans. His ex-mentions were a war zone, homophobic jerk. Resign now. Even his own employees were posting, anonymously sharing stories of his toxic behavior. Back at Jamie's apartment, Sarah called from the airline. "The company's freaking out. They want you to make a statement." Jamie groaned. He wasn't a spokesperson. He was just a guy who served coffee at 30,000 feet. But the airline saw an opportunity supporting Jamie could boost their image. They offered him a lawyer and a PR team. But it felt like a leash. That afternoon, Jamie met Mia, the student who'd recorded the video. They sat in a quiet cafe near the airport, the hum of planes overhead. Mia, with her dyed blue hair and nervous energy, apologized. "I didn't mean to blow up your life," she said. I couldn't let him get away with it." Jamie studied her. She was young, earnest, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. Mia showed him the latest ex-post celebrities were weighing in, some offering support, others stirring drama. A famous actor had pledged $10,000 to an LGBTQ+ charity in Jamie's name. It was surreal. Meanwhile, Victor was in crisis mode. His board called an emergency meeting, and investors were pulling out. Priya suggested a public apology, but Victor bristled. "Apologize? To some flight attendant? I'd rather burn this company down." Still, he drafted a half-hearted statement. Posted to X, "I regret any offense caused. Let's move forward." The backlash was swift. Tone-deaf. Fake apology. The internet wasn't buying it. Jamie, against Alex's advice, watched the video again. Victor's sneer. His own forced smile stung all over again. But the comments gave him pause. Thousands of people shared their own stories of bullying, of being mocked for who they were. One user wrote, "I'm a gay teen in Texas. Your strength gives me hope." Jamie's eyes welled up. Maybe this wasn't just about him. That night, he and Alex walked Luna along the Embarcadero, the city lights reflecting off the water. "What do I do?" Jamie asked. Alex stopped, turning to face him. "You show them who you are. Not the video. Not the headlines you." Jamie nodded. But doubt gnawed at him. Could he handle the spotlight? By the next day, the story had escalated. A major talk show invited Jamie for an interview. The airline, sensing a PR win, encouraged him to go. Victor, meanwhile, was plotting damage control. He hired a crisis management firm, who suggested a bold move: invite Jamie to a public meeting. spin it as reconciliation. Victor hated the idea, but his empire was crumbling. He agreed. The invitation reached Jamie via email, sleek and corporate, offering a private discussion with Victor. Jamie laughed bitterly. He just wants to save face. But Alex saw potential. Go. Call his bluff. Make him face you. Jamie hesitated. Confronting Victor meant stepping into a circus cameras. Headlines. Judgment. But it also meant a chance to reclaim his story. He thought of the note from the passenger on the plane. The teen in Texas. The weight of their hope. Okay, he said finally. I'll do it. As he prepared, the world kept spinning. X-posts multiplied, some painting Jamie as a saint, others as an opportunist. Victor's team leaked stories, trying to discredit him. But the camera had caught the truth, and the truth was stubborn. Jamie wasn't just a flight attendant anymore. He was a spark, and the fire was spreading. The meeting was set for a sleek conference room in downtown San Francisco. All glass walls and polished oak. Jamie arrived early, his palms sweaty despite the crisp October air. He wore a simple blazer, refusing the airline's offer of a stylist. I'm not a prop, he'd told Sarah. Victor was already there, flanked by his PR team, their faces tight with forced smiles. The billionaire looked out of place in the neutral setting, his tailored suit too sharp, his posture too rigid. A single camera, agreed upon by both sides, recorded from the corner. The world was still watching. Jamie sat across from Victor, their eyes locking for the first time since the flight. Victor's gaze was cold, calculating. But Jamie saw something nawa flicker of unease. Let's get this over with, Victor said. His voice clipped. I'm here to clear the air. Jamie leaned forward, his voice steady. You mocked me. In front of everyone. Why? The room went silent. Victor's team exchanged glances, but he waved them off. It was a joke, he said, shrugging. You're too sensitive. The words hit like a slap, but Jamie didn't flinch. A joke doesn't make someone feel worthless. You wanted to hurt me. Victor's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone he saw as beneath him. But Jamie pressed on. You don't even know me. So why target me? Victor leaned back, smirking. I don't need to know you. I know your type. The room bristled. The camera's red light blinked, capturing every word. Jamie's heart raced. But he thought of Alex, of the teen in Texas, of every person who'd ever been belittled. My type, he said, his voice rising. You mean someone who's proud of who they are? Someone who doesn't hide. The PR team scrambled, whispering to Victor. But he ignored them. You're making this bigger than it is. He snapped. It was one comment. Jamie shook his head. It wasn't just one comment. It was a power trip. You wanted to feel big by making me feel small. The meeting spiraled. Victor doubled down, accusing Jamie of exploiting the situation for fame. Jamie countered, his voice raw with emotion, sharing how the incident had reopened old wounds from his childhood. The camera caught it all, the billionaire's defiance, Jamie's vulnerability. By the time they parted, no apologies had been made, no hands shaken. But Jamie felt lighter. He'd spoken his truth. The footage leaked within hours, X erupted, with clips of Jamie's words trending under Speak Your Truth. People praised his courage, but the backlash grew uglier too. Trolls flooded his mentions with hate, and a tabloid dug up an old photo of him at a pride parade, spinning it into a smear. Jamie tried to stay offline, but the noise was inescapable. At home, Alex was his anchor. They cooked dinner together, Luna weaving between their legs. And for a moment, life felt normal. But the world kept intruding. The talk show appearance was tomorrow, and Jamie was torn. What if I mess this up? He asked Alex, chopping vegetables with too much force. Alex smiled softly. You won't. You're not fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for everyone like you. Victor, meanwhile, was losing ground. His board demanded action. Customers were boycotting Langston Tech products, and a major investor pulled out. Priya showed him the latest X analytics, 70% negative sentiment. You need to apologize. For real this time, she urged. Victor scowled, but knew she was right. He drafted a new statement, this time with feeling or at least a good imitation of it. The next morning, Jamie stepped onto the set of Good Day America, his stomach in knots. The host, a warm woman named Lena, greeted him like an old friend. The audience cheered as he sat down, and for the first time, Jamie felt the weight of their support. Lena asked about the flight, the meeting, his life. Jamie spoke from the heart, sharing stories of his small-town upbringing, his journey to self-acceptance, and the love he'd found with Alex. When Lena played the leaked meeting footage, the audience gasped at Victor's callousness. Jamie took a breath. I don't want him canceled, he said. I want him to understand. To see me as a person, not a punchline. The room erupted in applause. X lit up with praise. Jamie Carter is a class act. This is how you change hearts. Victor watched the broadcast from his office, his face unreadable. His new apology went live minutes later. I was wrong to mock Jamie Carter. His dignity and strength have shown me the impact of my actions. I'm committed to doing better. It was polished, vetted by his team, but it lacked soul. Still, it slowed the bleeding. Stock stabilized. The board exhaled. But Jamie wasn't done. After the show, he met with an LGBTQ plus advocacy group who saw his story as a catalyst. They proposed a campaign, See Me, Hear Me, a platform for people to share stories of discrimination and resilience. Jamie hesitated, wasn't a leader, just a guy, but their passion was infectious. He agreed to help. As he left the meeting, his phone buzzed with a text from Mia. You killed it on TV. Keep going. Jamie smiled. The world was still loud, still messy, but he was finding his voice. And somewhere, Victor was starting to feel the weight of his own. Weeks passed, and Jamie's life became a whirlwind. The See Me, Hear Me campaign launched with a viral video featuring his story alongside others, teachers, nurses, students, all sharing moments of prejudice and triumph. Jamie's face was everywhere, from billboards in Times Square to X posts shared by millions. He hated the spotlight, but loved the impact. Letters poured in from strangers, thanking him for giving them courage. Yet the attention came at a cost. Paparazzi trailed him to the grocery store, and his social media was a minefield of support and vitriol. One night, he found a threatening note slipped under his apartment door, stay quiet or else. Alex called the police, but Jamie brushed it off, not wanting fear to win. Still, he started checking the locks twice. Victor, meanwhile, was navigating his own fallout. His apology had bought him time, but the public wasn't ready to forgive. Langston Tech's brand was tarnished, and his board was restless. At a charity gala, he overheard whispers, "That's the guy from the video." For the first time, Victor felt like the outsider. His team pushed him to do more. They arranged a meeting with an LGBTQ+ advocacy group, hoping to repair his image. Victor agreed, but his heart wasn't in it. At the meeting, he sat stone-faced as activists shared data on workplace discrimination. One speaker, a trans woman named Carla, looked him in the eye. "People like you set the tone. Your words have power." Victor shifted uncomfortably, her words echoing Jamie's. Back in San Francisco, Jamie was preparing for his next flight. The airline had given him time off, but he missed the skies. His first day back, passengers recognized him. Some asked for selfies. Others offered quiet thanks. In first class, a man in a suit handed him a business card. "Join our PR firm. You're a natural." Jamie laughed it off, but the idea lingered. That same week, Victor's team proposed a bold move, a public event with Jamie. A moderated discussion to show growth. Victor hated it, but his empire was on the line. They reached out to Jamie's team, who now included a lawyer and a publicist, courtesy of the airline. Jamie was skeptical. "Another photo op?" he asked Alex, tossing the email on the table. Alex shrugged. "Maybe. But it's also a chance to hold him accountable. On your terms." Jamie thought of Carla's words at the advocacy meeting, overheard through a mutual friend, "Your words have power." He agreed to the event, but only if it was live, unscripted, and open to the public. The event was set for a community center in the Castro, San Francisco's historic gay district. The night before, Jamie couldn't sleep. He sat on the balcony, Luna curled up beside him, and scrolled through X. The campaign was gaining steam, with thousands sharing their stories under "See Me, Hear Me." But the hate was still there, sharp and relentless. A post caught his eye. "Jamie Carter's just milking this for fame." It stung, but he kept scrolling. Finding a reply, "He's giving us a voice. That's not Famite's purpose." The event was packed, with cameras from every major network. Jamie walked in, heart pounding, and saw Victor across the room. The billionaire looked smaller somehow, his confidence frayed. The moderator, a local journalist named Rachel, opened with ground rules: honesty, respect, no interruptions. Jamie spoke first, his voice steady but raw. "I didn't choose this fight, but I'm here because no one should feel less than for being who they are." The crowd cheered. Victor shifted in his seat, his prepared remarks feeling hollow. When it was his turn, he stumbled. I made a mistake. I'm trying to learn." The words sounded rehearsed, and the audience sensed it. Rachel pressed him. "What have you learned, Mr. Langston?" Victor hesitated, his eyes darting to Jamie. For the first time, he saw him not as a target, but as a person. "I learned that my words, they hurt people. More than I realized." It wasn't enough, but it was a start. The discussion grew heated. Audience members asked Victor tough questions. "How will you change?" Why should we trust you? Jamie listened, adding his own thoughts, his voice a mix of anger and hope. Change isn't a statement. It's action. Show us. As the event ended, the crowd was divided. Some applauded Victor's effort. Others called it performative. Jamie left feeling conflicted but empowered. He'd held his ground. On X, clips of the event trended, with "See Me, Hear Me" climbing higher. Victor's team called it a win, but he wasn't so sure. For the first time, he felt the weight of his actions not just on his company, but on his soul. Jamie returned home to Alex, who pulled him into a hug. "You did it," Alex whispered. Jamie smiled, but his mind was already racing. The fight was far from over, but he was ready for the next chapter. The aftermath of the Castro event rippled through both men's lives. Jamie's role in "See Me, Hear Me" grew, pulling him into meetings with activists, lawmakers, and even a senator who wanted to push anti-discrimination legislation. He was no longer just a flight attendant. He was a voice, a reluctant leader. But the weight of it was heavy. At night, he'd collapse next to Alex, whispering, "Am I enough for this?" Alex always answered, "More than enough." The threats hadn't stopped. Another note appeared, this time at his workplace: "You're not untouchable." The airline beefed up security, and Jamie started varying his routes home. He refused to let fear win. But it was there, a shadow in his periphery. On X, the campaign was thriving, but so was the hate. A right-wing influencer with millions of followers posted a video calling Jamie a woke opportunist, sparking a new wave of harassment. Victor, meanwhile, was grappling with his own unraveling. The event had humanized him to some, but his critics were relentless. A whistleblower from Langston Tech leaked emails showing Victor's history of dismissing diversity initiatives. The board called another meeting, and this time, they weren't gentle. "Step down or we'll force you out," the chairman said. Victor's empire, built on his terms, was slipping through his fingers. Desperate, Victor reached out to Carla, the activist from the advocacy meeting. They met privately in a quiet diner, away from cameras. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted, his voice low. Carla didn't soften. "Start by listening. Really listening. Not to save your company, but to understand." She gave him a list of books, documentaries, and organizations. "Educate yourself, then act." Victor took her advice, if only to survive. He read, watched, and met with community leaders, expecting to check boxes. But something shifted. A documentary about the AIDS crisis hit him hard: stories of loss, resilience, and love that mirrored Jamie's courage. For the first time, Victor saw the world through someone else's eyes. Jamie, unaware of Victor's quiet transformation, was juggling his own challenges. The airline offered him a promotion to a desk job, framing it as a reward for his leadership. But Jamie loved the skies, the fleeting connections with passengers, the freedom of flight. He turned it down, choosing to stay a flight attendant, even as the campaign demanded more of his time. One evening, he and Mia collaborated on a new "See Me, Hear Me" video. This one focused on youth. They filmed at a local LGBTQ+ youth center, capturing stories of teens who'd faced bullying but found strength in community. Jamie shared his own story, his voice breaking as he recalled his Ohio childhood. The video went viral, raising $100,000 for the center in days. But the spotlight brought more scrutiny. A tabloid published a hit piece, twisting Jamie's past to paint him as unstable. Old classmates from Ohio crawled out, selling stories some true, some exaggerated. Jamie felt like he was drowning. He called Sarah, his voice shaking. "I didn't sign up for this." Sarah, ever practical, said, "You're changing lives. That's worth the noise." Victor's journey was quieter, but no less turbulent. He started attending private support groups for executives, confronting his biases. One night, he shared the flight incident, his voice halting. "I thought I was untouchable. I was wrong." The group listened, some skeptical, others encouraging. It was humbling, and Victor wasn't used to humility. Their paths crossed again at a charity auction for an LGBTQ+ shelter. Jamie was a guest speaker. Victor was a donor, trying to rebuild his image. They locked eyes across the room, the air thick with tension. Jamie spoke first, addressing the crowd about resilience and hope. His words were raw, unguarded, and the audience hung on every syllable. Victor approached him afterward. "No cameras. No team. I'm trying," he said, his voice low. "I don't expect you to believe me." Jamie studied him, searching for sincerity. "Then keep trying," he said. "Not for me, for everyone you've hurt." Victor nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. The encounter stayed with Jamie. He didn't trust Victor, but he saw something crack in the armor. Back home, Alex noticed the shift. "You're not just fighting him anymore," he said. "You're fighting for something bigger." Jamie nodded, pulling Luna close. The threats, the hate, the noisy, it was all still there. But so was the hope, the stories, the lives he was touching. On X, the campaign grew, with "See Me, Hear Me" trending globally. Victor's company announced a new diversity initiative, and while skeptics called it PR, some saw potential. Jamie kept flying, kept speaking, kept pushing. The world was watching, and he was ready to lead. Months later, the world had changed, but the scars remained. Jamie's life was a delicate balance: flights, campaign events, and quiet nights with Alex, trying to reclaim normalcy. The See Me, Hear Me campaign had raised millions, funding shelters, scholarships, and youth programs. Jamie's face was synonymous with hope, but the threats hadn't stopped. A brick shattered their apartment window one night. A note attached: "You'll regret this." The police investigated, but Jamie felt exposed. He and Alex moved to a new place with better security, but the violation lingered. On X, supporters rallied, launching a fundraiser to cover their relocation costs. Jamie was overwhelmed, torn between gratitude and guilt. "I didn't want to be a burden," he told Mia during a video call. She shook her head. "You're not. You're a beacon." Victor's transformation was slower, messier. He stepped back from day-to-day operations at Langston Tech, letting his COO take the reins. He spent time volunteering at an LGBTQ+ community center, scrubbing floors and serving meals, tasks he'd once scoffed at. The work was humbling, and the stories he heard: parents disowning their kids, workers fired for their identity chipped away at his defenses. One day, he met a young man named Eli at the center. a former Langston tech intern who'd quit after Victor's policies ignored queer employees. Eli was blunt. Your company failed people like me. Victor listened, his usual defensiveness gone. He promised to fund a mentorship program for queer youth in tech, naming Eli as its lead. It was a small step, but it felt real. Jamie, meanwhile, was preparing for a national SAYMA AKHTER tour. The campaign had grown into a movement, with events planned in 20 cities. He was nervous but energized, especially after a letter from the Texas teen who'd messaged him months ago. I came out to my parents because of you. They're trying to understand. Jamie framed the letter, hanging it in their new apartment. The tour kicked off in Chicago, where a crowd of thousands cheered as Jamie shared his story. He spoke of the flight, the hate, and the hope that kept him going. This isn't about me, he said. It's about us. All of us. The crowd roared. An X lit up with clips. Mia, now a campaign volunteer, filmed everything, her footage amplifying the message. Victor watched the Chicago event online, alone in his apartment. He'd been invited but declined, not wanting to steal Jamie's moment. The billionaire was changing, but he wasn't naive. His past still followed him. A news outlet dug up a decade-old interview where he dismissed gay rights as a distraction. The backlash was swift, but Victor didn't fight it. He posted on X, I said ignorant things. I'm learning, and I'll keep learning. The tour moved to Atlanta, then Miami, each stop bigger than the last. Jamie met people whose stories mirrored his pain. Resilience. Love. In Dallas, a shy teenager approached him after an event, clutching a rainbow pin. I want to be like you, she said. Jamie hugged her, his eyes wet. You're already enough, he whispered. Back in San Francisco, Victor's mentorship program launched. Eli invited Jamie to speak at the opening, a virtual event due to security concerns. Jamie hesitated. Victor would be the rebut. Alex urged him on. You don't owe him anything, but you owe yourself the chance to see this through. The virtual event was tense but powerful. Jamie spoke about authenticity in the workplace, his words aimed at the young attendees but landing with Victor. When it was Victor's turn, he surprised everyone. I was wrong, he said, his voice steady. Not just on that flight, but for years. I'm here to make amends, starting with this program. Jamie watched, skeptical but moved. After the event, Victor sent him a private message. I'd like to meet again. No cameras. Just us. Jamie didn't respond right away. He needed time. The tour continued, each city a reminder of why he was fighting. In Seattle, a man shared how Jamie's story had stopped him from giving up. In Denver, a teacher said her students were braver because of the campaign. As the tour neared its end, Jamie felt a shift. The threats still came, but they were drowned out by the love, the stories, the change. He was no longer just the flight attendant from the video. He was a leader, a survivor, a voice for those who'd been silenced. Victor, too, was changing. He donated millions to LGBTQ+ causes. Not for headlines, but because he was starting to understand. He wasn't redeemed, not yet, but he was trying. And for the first time, he wondered if that was enough. The SAYMA AKHTER tour ended in New York, a homecoming for Jamie. The event was held in a packed Brooklyn theater, with rainbow flags lining the stage. Jamie stood under the lights, his voice stronger than ever. "We're not just fighting for acceptance," he said. "We're fighting for a world where no one has to hide." The crowd leapt to their feet, and Alex, in the front row, wiped away tears. Backstage, Jamie felt the weight lift. The tour had been grueling. 20 cities, countless stories, endless scrutiny, but it had changed him. He was no longer the scared kid from Ohio or the flight attendant dodging insults. He was someone who could move mountains. Mia, now a close friend, hugged him. "You did this," she said. "You made this happen." The campaign had raised $10 million, funded 50 community programs, and sparked legislation in 3 states. But the threats persisted. A stalker had been arrested outside their San Francisco apartment, and Jamie's security team was now a permanent fixture. He hated it, but Alex insisted. "We're in this together," he said, kissing Jamie's forehead. Victor, meanwhile, was rebuilding from the ground up. He'd stepped down as CEO, staying on as chairman but with limited power. The mentorship program was thriving, and Eli's leadership gave it credibility. Victor attended every meeting, listening more than speaking. He was still learning, still stumbling, but the work felt real. He'd asked Jamie for another meeting, and this time, Jamie agreed. They met in a small Central Park cafe. No cameras, no teams. Victor looked different, less polished, more human. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice quiet. "Not for the headlines, but for what I did to you." Jamie studied him. The billionaire's eyes were earnest, but trust was hard-won. "Why now?" Jamie asked. Victor exhaled. "Because I see it now. The pain I caused. Not just to you, but to everyone I dismissed." He paused. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm trying." Jamie nodded, his throat tight. "Keep trying," he said, echoing their last encounter. "And not just for me." They parted without fanfare. But something had shifted. Victor wasn't the enemy anymore, just a man grappling with his own flaws. Back at work, Jamie found his rhythm again. Passengers still recognized him, but the selfies and notes had slowed. He loved the routine, serving drinks, calming nervous flyers, sharing smiles. One day, a young man in coach slipped him a note. "I'm gay and scared. Thank you for being you." Jamie tucked it into his pocket, next to the one from the flight that started it all. On X, the campaign was a global force. See Me, Hear Me inspired sister movements in Europe and Asia, and Jamie was invited to speak at the UN. He declined, passing the torch to Carla, whose fire and wisdom deserve the stage. "This isn't my story anymore," he told Alex. "It's everyone's." Victor's journey continued quietly. He funded a scholarship for queer youth in tech, named after Eli. He spoke at a small conference, sharing his mistakes and lessons. No polish, just truth. The audience was skeptical, but some listened. On X, a few praised his effort. "He's trying." That's something. Others weren't ready to forgive, and Victor accepted that. Jamie and Alex planned a vacation, a break from the chaos. They chose a quiet cabin in Maine, just them and Luna. As they packed, Jamie found the framed letter from the Texas teen. He smiled, tracing the words, The world was still messy, still loud, but it was changing. One night, under a starlit sky, Jamie and Alex sat by a fire. "I'm proud of you," Alex said, his hand warm in Jamie's. "But I'm proud of us, too." Jamie leaned into him, the crackle of the fire drowning out the world. For the first time in months, he felt free. Victor, back in San Francisco, walked through the community center alone. He stopped at a wall of photos, smiling faces, stories of survival. One was Jamie's, from the campaign's launch. Victor lingered, then turned away. He had work to do. The world kept spinning, but the spark Jamie had lit was now aflame. Lives were changing, hearts were opening, and the camera that had caught it all was still watching. A year later, the world looked different. Jamie was back in the skies full-time, his uniform a badge of pride. The See Me, Hear Me campaign had become a nonprofit, with Mia as its creative director and Carla as its head. It had changed laws, funded communities, and given countless people a voice. Jamie stepped back, content to let others lead. He still spoke occasionally, but his heart was with the passengers, the clouds, the fleeting moments of connection. The threats had faded, though security remained tight. Jamie and Alex were planning their wedding, a small ceremony in San Francisco with Luna as the ring bearer. They laughed about it, imagining her trotting down the aisle. "We made it," Alex said one night, toasting with cheap wine. Jamie grinned. "We're just getting started." Victor's life was quieter now. He'd sold much of his stake in Langston Tech, using the money to fund queer-focused initiatives. The mentorship program had expanded, and Eli was now a rising star in tech, mentoring others as Victor once mentored him. Victor didn't seek the spotlight, new trust was earned, not demanded. One day, he saw Jamie at an airport, waiting for a flight. No cameras, no crowds. Victor approached, hesitant. "Jamie," he said, "I just want to say thank you for showing me what I needed to see." Jamie looked at him, the man who'd once cut him down. "You're welcome," he said simply. "Keep going." They didn't linger, didn't need to. Victor boarded his flight, and Jamie prepared for his. As the plane took off, Jamie looked out at the horizon, the world stretching wide below. He thought of the teen in Texas, the teacher in Denver, the thousands of stories that had found a home because of one cruel moment and a camera that saw it all. On X, the hashtags had quieted, but the impact hadn't. People still shared their truths, still fought for change. Jamie's story was no longer the headline, it was part of a bigger tapestry, woven with countless others. Back home, Jamie and Alex danced in their living room, Luna barking at their feet. The world wasn't perfect, but it was better, and that was enough. The camera had caught a moment, but Jamie and everyone he'd inspired had turned it into a movement. A spark became a fire, and the fire became a light.